Hey, welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR. We have got a lot to talk about going on in the Big Ten. We are welcoming back Kent, casual Big Ten. It's been a minute, ever since before the Big Ten tournament, right?
Yeah, man, I miss you. I miss talking hoops with you, JR.
Yeah,
No,
man.
yeah, it's been since before the Big Ten tournament. I did check in one time during the Big Ten tournament. I was at my hotel, but I was out of sorts. I was exhausted, man. That watching 13 games in 5 days will take a lot out of you for sure.
Oh, I'm sure, dude. Yeah, I could tell that night when you were on, it was pretty tiring. It looked like so.
Yeah.
I can tell that for sure. So, well, we're glad to have you back. We're glad to talk some basketball. We've had some crazy instances since then, but yeah, I mean, it's Purdue has been dominating. Looks like their loss in the Big Ten tournament sparked a something in Zach Edey and Braden Smith that like they're never going to lose ever again, which I know is good news to our Boilermaker fans. And Terrence Shannon Jr. apparently has just decided that he's an alien and he's going to run at anybody, and anybody who's in his way is going to try and take a charge, and it's not going to work. So,
Yeah. I mean, he has been so fun to watch, man, and it's just been like watching him in person was even more fun. Like I'm not going to talk about the Big Ten tournament a lot on here because that was so last week, but seeing him in person was really fun, and just what he's been able to do to lift his team, and it feels like everything is going right for both of those teams right now. I mean, obviously they won both of their games this weekend, so it's easy to say that right now, but they're just both playing so well. It's been really fun to follow these two teams for sure.
I'm feeling good about our bracket pick when we had Illinois and Purdue in the national championship together. So
Yes.
I'm rooting for them both. Make it happen.
That's going to happen for sure. I wasn't on that show though. That was
That was Brant and Sonny, I think. Yeah.
yeah, that was Sunny. Yeah. I was in the chat heavy on that show, but I wasn't on it.
Yeah.
But I agreed with most of what you guys did. That's for
Thank
sure
you.
going to happen.
Yes, we predicted it. So, hey, Dave wants to know where you ate in the Twin Cities.
I had multiple places that we went to. Some of them they're escaping me right now, but Dan Kelly's was a great place. It was really close to our hotel. They had a great happy hour. Very like it was right in between our hotel and the stadium, so we stopped there a couple of times. We did go to Tom's Watch Bar, but the line was really long. In fact, the Northwestern assistant coaches were right ahead of us in line putting their name in, which was pretty interesting. And I
Cool.
met Parker Fox there. He was there right after his game against
Nice.
Michigan State, so I went and talked to him for a minute. That was fun, but did not eat there. Went to Hell's Kitchen one day in between sessions. Kind of expensive, but the food was really, really good. And then I think everything else we went to was like just like you would. I don't remember the names of the bars. They were just whatever bar like we got close to. We just went in there and ate. I can't think of any other place that. I can't think of the names of any other places, but yeah, the food was great in Minnesota. I had a blast. It was really fun.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. Sonny's here. He said Kent did say he was copying our bracket, didn't he? $10,000 prize.
I forget. You know what? I did that. Yep, it's in there. And if we win, I say we. I'm keeping all the money. I'm like you
Okay.
guys put this out on the internet for free. Sonny, that's your fault. After that, it's like whoever is listening can take advantage of your guys' knowledge.
Yeah.
And if I happen to do that, then it's on you. I don't have to share this money if I win.
My favorite part about that bracket was literally as we were filling it out, Sonny was like, I did not plan for this to happen. I did not plan to put Illinois in the national championship. Me and Brent were,
Sure.
like dragging him along, like, no, we're putting him in the national championship. All
Hey,
right,
there's
let's
a
get
chance,
to
man.
it.
It's
There
right in
is a
front of them right
chance.
now.
There is a chance. Hey, before we talk basketball, let's talk about big news, man. The tournament was so crazy. We didn't have time to talk about Juwan Howard being fired, but Michigan does hire, like days, hours after Florida Atlantic loses, Michigan does hire Dusty May to be their new head coach. I am kind of surprised what's been going on Twitter about this. There's been like, I know Ant Wright is kind of against the hire. I know Greg Waddell from Sleepers is like, as long as he doesn't punch people, I'm good. So I think that's a nice standard to have. So, Michigan fans are kind of split on this. I know other teams are kind of clowning them for it, which, like, I mean, I think that kind of happens anytime somebody hires a new coach. Anybody just wants to clown them. But Kent, what are your thoughts on this hire?
I actually wanted to start with a question for you because everything I heard right after the hire was that Ohio State fans were kind of bitter because they didn't get him, and maybe they jumped too early to remove the tag from Diebler. So how are you feeling about it? Do you wish you had him right now?
No, I said from the beginning, and people can go back and listen to this. I'm not just being an angry Ohio State fan here. But I said from the beginning I didn't want Dusty May because I was worried that he was going to just leave for Indiana whenever that job opens up. So, do I think Dusty May is a good coach? Yes. Do I think that Dusty May will have success in the Big Ten? Yes. Do I think that Dusty May will have success at Michigan in the Big Ten for 10 plus years? Probably not, because he's probably going to go to Indiana and have success there instead. If he doesn't leave for Indiana and Michigan holds on to him, yeah, good hire. I mean, I'd be happy with it, but I think you have to spend a lot of money to do that, especially somebody who, kind of wants to get out. But it's so weird. Ohio State fans, like, they're kind of split right now, which I guess it always happens. But some of them hate the hire of Jake Diebler, and some of them love the hire. I'm kind of in between. I lean more toward liking it than disliking it. But yeah, the ones that hate the hire are definitely fired up right now because they're like, we lost out on Dusty May and now Michigan's gonna win every single year. And it's like, oh well, we have Jake Diebler.
To be determined on all that to if they're gonna win they're definitely not gonna win every year just because they got a new coach. That's for sure. But as far as from the Michigan angle, I think that it was a safe hire, even though he was a name that a lot of people wanted. Louisville was talking to him, and like we just said, I think Ohio State, maybe the fan base a little bit wanted him. But when you're going from Juwan Howard, I feel like anybody is a safe Howard. Like you just said with what Greg was putting out on Twitter, as long as he's not punching opposing coaches and doesn't have an extremely toxic locker room, I think that any coach would have been a safe hire at this point. But Dusty May specifically, obviously, has had some success in the postseason the last 3 years now. I think, I don't follow Florida Atlantic University that closely, but I'm led to believe just based on the things I've heard about him that he's developing his own talent. I don't know how much talent he got from the transfer portal the last couple of years. He could have got all of his talent from there. I don't know. Like I said, I don't follow them that closely. But relatively young, so if he does have success, he might be a long-term guy at Michigan. Just like I said, the only thing I really know about him is his postseason success. He's had a team that wasn't supposed to be in the Final Four, and he took them there. He's had a couple he lost yesterday, or this weekend, I should say, but he's had some success so he can have success at a bigger program at Michigan, I think, with better resources and more NIL money and being able to bring in bigger names. I think that he'll do great at Michigan compared to what they were this year, obviously.
Yeah, I feel like, Michigan could have either gone two ways. They could have, really went out and tried to get a really big name coach, maybe, lure a Eric Musselman away from Arkansas, or go after a Mick Cronin from UCLA, maybe go after Jerome Tang. However, I know there were some, Michigan fans that weren't too happy about that name either, which I don't get. I think Jerome Tang's a really good coach. You talk about giving him more resources. I think you give him Michigan resources, and he'll do all right. But at the same time, I just look at it and I'm like, who would have been a better hire? I know everybody says John Beeline. That's fine. Well, it's not happening. That's like Ohio State fans are saying Jay Wright. It's not happening. Yes, they can give him a call. I'm sure they did give him a call, but it's not happening. So just get it out of your head. Whatever. Who are they going to hire that was better? Dave says, they could have hired the Drake head coach and maybe saved some money, but he ended up West Virginia. Does Ward Manuel really want to save money right now, or does he want to try to save his job? Because the Michigan fan base doesn't like him right now. I don't know anybody that really likes him right now. Even Ohio State fans don't like him because they think that he's putting his, turning his head to the cheating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which, not that Ohio State fans' opinions really matter about his job, but anyway, I guess you could argue maybe the James Madison coach, maybe Bryce Drew from Grand Canyon, but like all of those guys are like they built a good team for the regular season, but they lost early in the tournament. And I know some people are saying like Dusty May beat a 16 seed to go to the Sweet 16. Okay, but that 16 seed beat Purdue. So like it's not like it was just they played the 16 seed week 1 or round 1 and then teleported to the Sweet 16. So I don't know. I think it's a good hire. I think
so
Dusty
too.
May can do anything about it. Like,
I think it's interesting. Like you bring up John Beilein. Obviously, like you said, he's old now, so like he probably doesn't want to coach at all anymore. But I think that this Dusty May hire is a lot like when Michigan hired John Beilein. Like had a little bit of success at a smaller school. Now I know West Virginia is not a small school, but it's smaller than. I would argue that it's smaller in resources than Michigan. And I don't think a lot of people were very excited about the John Beilein hire at the time. So I liken these two hires to each other because I think Dusty May is in a similar position. He's had success, and now he's coming to a program where he'll be able to have more success if he continues on the same trajectory that he's been on at FAU. The only name that I put out there to the Twitter universe, I should say, that I would have liked to see was Chris Collins. That would have been interesting because it's right here in the Big Ten, and I love when there's transfers in the Big Ten, so why not do it with the coaches as well? And I've said this a million times, JR. You can attest to this. I think that Chris Collins is the best coach in the conference for basketball. And I think that at Michigan it would have been really interesting to see what he could have done there. And I even tweeted out the loser of that game was going to have to coach at Michigan. Ended up coming true 24 hours later, which was pretty crazy. I was surprised, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, how quickly, like you said, this moved. Is it always happening like this fast? I don't remember this happening so quickly ever.
In
like
the portal era, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, because he has to get in there and start getting his guys right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just thought it was crazy how fast it happened.
Yeah, I think in the portal era, this stuff is happening much, much quicker because people are realizing, like, these kids are going, like, it's almost like a blessing if your team has no chance to win the NCAA tournament to, like, get out early because you then can start getting into the portal, which, you know, Alabama laughs at that because Alabama already signed a player out of the portal and they're literally in the Sweet 16. So, you know, it's kind of interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, I honestly, when you made that tweet where you said, like, you know, the next coach of Michigan is coaching in this game, I was like, that is so true. Because, I mean, I know Chris Collins is, like, pretty connected with, like, Northwestern and stuff like that. I know he's, like,
and Duke,
some
probably.
Times. Right.
Which, like, he'll never get that job now because they have a young coach there probably forever.
But I think no matter what, like, whoever lost that game was going to be Michigan's target. Who they were going to kind of go after. But I know that they wanted the South Florida coach, too. Amir, I forget how to say his name. I'm not going to botch it. But
I don't know his name either, so I can't say it.
Yeah, so anyway, all right, let's move on from there. I think we have more people in the chat now, so I'm sure we have some Boilermakers who want to hear us talk about Purdue and their dismantling so far of just other teams and completely annihilating them, breaking down their pride, making them question if they should be playing basketball anymore. Zach Yee stomping on them like they're bugs. I mean, are those accurate representations of what this Purdue team has done in the tournament so far, kid?
Yes. And I just want to put the allegations to rest right now. Purdue basketball is fun to watch. I enjoy watching Purdue play basketball. I don't care what anybody says on any website whatsoever. I enjoy watching Purdue. I enjoy watching one of our fellow Big Ten teams just absolutely dominate people. And this was a great weekend for Purdue. They, like you said, I think the Big Ten tournament loss actually was really helpful for them because they got a little bit more rest and they were able to refocus after that loss and say, all right, now we're really going after it right now. So dominant in those games. And I thought the interesting thing for me, at least in the first two games, maybe you saw it differently, but I saw a very relaxed, carefree, like they were letting the game come to them games in both of these games. Now, obviously, they're playing some pretty bad competition. Like Grambling State was never going to win that game. But the pressure I feel like they had just coming off of what happened last year, it was still really impressive to see what Purdue was able to do. Did you see that in those games? Did you see a relaxed team, or am I seeing that wrong?
I did once they started getting up by more. Like, I saw for like the first half of the Grambling State game. So what, the first quarter of the game? That's probably a better way to put it.
First 10 minutes.
Yeah. So like the first 10 minutes, I felt like they were a little kind of on edge, a little bit. But I mean, it wasn't bad. Like, I'm nitpicking here, right? Which, I'm not trying to say anything bad about Purdue. Don't come at me, Purdue fans.
I feel like you have to, though, because like they're like pretty much all you can say is good things about them. So it's easy to just be like, oh, Purdue was very good and like Zach Edey was dominant. Like
right.
Everyone's saying that. Of course they are. So like the thing to try to do is find something that like maybe they need to improve on. So like I feel like that's fair to say that about the first 10 minutes.
But I think like the compliment to that is like they quickly corrected it once they started to get up, and you saw this swagger of Purdue where it's like, yeah, this team isn't going to do anything to us.
Yeah.
This team has no chance. And you even saw it against Utah State. I mean, like that Grambling State game really seemed to give them confidence. And then once Utah State rolled into the crib, it was like,
yeah, this isn't happening.
You're not
tonight.
doing anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is our court. You get off. We're going to sweep you away. And it wasn't just Zach Edey. Like, I saw it in Braden Smith. I saw it in Lance Jones. I saw it in Fletcher Lawyer. Like, even Trey Kaufman-Wren in that Utah State game, like, he was going off. And you haven't seen that all season from him. I know he's a good player. I know I've been, called out for calling him average that one time. It's fine, whatever. But, like, when you're playing around greatness, even if you're a good player, sometimes you look average.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. I think that it was great. Like, obviously, what you just said, I wrote that down, too. 18 points against Utah State for Trey in that game. But what's been good for Purdue as well, as they advance through this tournament, there might be a game where they're going to need people like him or people like maybe even Miles Colvin to step up. And because they're blowing everybody out right now, those guys are getting more minutes. Maybe not more. I don't know. I didn't check the numbers. But they're playing a lot in these games, tournament games. They're getting a lot of minutes. And if there's a situation where maybe Zach Edey gets in foul trouble, maybe Braden Smith, God forbid, hopefully this doesn't happen, but maybe he hyperextends his knee again. And you need one of those guys to come in a big moment or in a close game against somebody like Gonzaga, and those guys already have those minutes. So they're gaining even more confidence, I think, throughout the team, not just the starters, it's the bench players as well, because they're blowing everybody out and because they're all getting extra minutes and they're getting this extra confidence. So really interesting. One other note, too, by the way, speaking of coaches getting hired quick, Sprinkle from Utah State will be in the Big Ten next year. He just got hired by Washington. Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that earlier today.
Yep. So
yeah,
another
huge.
little interesting wrinkle. Coach Sprinkle coming to the Big Ten next year. We'll see how he does.
Interesting wrinkle in Coach Sprinkle. I like it.
Yeah, I'm freestyling tonight.
All right, Ken, I have a hot take about Purdue before we move on. And I need all the Purdue fans in the chat to tell me if I am correct or not. And I'm leaning one way, but I could be persuaded the other way. Okay?
Okay.
I am convinced, partially, could be fully convinced by the end of this conversation, that if Purdue loses Braden Smith, that is more impactful than if they lose Zach Edey in a game, like to injury, like you were talking about earlier. If they lose Braden Smith, that would be more impactful than Zach Edey.
I have to disagree.
You disagree?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I disagree.
But think about who's behind him, though.
Who's behind Braden Smith?
Yeah,
or
who
Zach
handles
Edey?
the ball if Braden Smith is out? Lance Jones.
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't think anyone. You're right. I don't think there's anyone on their team that can run their stuff as good as Braden can. I agree with you on that. But what Zach Edey brings to this team, though, is unmatched by any team in the country. Honestly, man, like he's such a force down low. He's gonna give you 30 points if you need it. He's like disruptive on defense. He's a monster on offense. Like Braden Smith is not bringing you that. Like I think you can find maybe Lance Jones handles the ball. I don't know who else could do it. I really don't know. Maybe That's a great question because I can't think of anybody who could run point guard for them as good as him, obviously, because he's great. So no one's going to be as good as Braden, but I think they could figure it out at that position more than they can from the center position because they get so much from Zach Edey.
Lance Jones is their primary ball handler 22% of the time. And I can tell you right now, when I watch highlights of Purdue, or if I watch like parts of the game where I'm like, man, Purdue's really cooking right now, who is the primary ball handler? Braden Smith.
Yeah.
If I'm
Is there anybody else higher than him after that, though?
Anybody higher than Lance Jones?
Yeah, like obviously it's Braden Smith most of the time. Is anyone not like is Lance second or is he?
Yeah, Lance is second.
Okay,
Braden
so yeah,
Smith
he'd have to be it then.
Yeah, Braden Smith handles it 74% of the time. Lance handles it 22% of the time. So, I mean,
but who's giving you 30 points though if Zach Edey goes out? That's my question. That would be my pushback on that.
Who's giving you 30 points?
Yeah. And who's disrupting the other team's offense like with a force on defense like Zach Edey does? Like who's doing that? Like I don't know. I just feel like he gives you more.
I don't think you have that piece that like is disrupting the game like that. But I do think that even with Zach Edey out, you have Trey Kaufman-Wren at the top, and you have at the 4 or at the 5, and then at the 4 you have Mason Gillis, who is one of the best 6 men in all of college basketball. So like he fits in there. But Braden Smith goes out, like Mason Gillis comes in, and then Lance Jones he's put at the 1, and then Cam Heide is your 3. Which like I don't have anything against Cam Heide. Cam Heide was balling in that last game. I have more against Lance Jones handling the ball than I do against Cam Heide coming in. I mean,
I hear you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that I
see what you're saying too, though.
Yeah, if I was the coach and I had a choice to get like if they were like you have to get rid of one of these two guys, I would get rid of Braden Smith. That's just me.
Okay.
Because I would never give away Zach Edey. Like I just couldn't do it, man. I couldn't.
Yeah, I think for me it's like. Yes, I know Zach Edey is obviously the best player, but I feel better about the depth behind Zach Edey than I feel the depth behind Braden Smith.
Yeah, I don't think you're. I don't think you're wrong about that at all because, like you said, no one else can run the offense like Braden. So,
yeah,
I don't think you're wrong. I don't think either of us are wrong. You know.
Yeah, we're both right.
Yeah,
totally,
definitely.
Neither of us is wrong. Should be like my new life motto. So, all right. I thought we'd get more comments from Purdue fans there. But
what do you think about the? Are we going to do like upcoming matchup, or are you saving that for a later show?
That's going to be Wednesday. If you have anything to say, though, you won't be here Wednesday. So if you have anything to say, go for it.
No, I haven't watched Gonzaga enough this year. I've only seen their 2 tournament games and like one other game this year, and I just don't know enough about them yet. I have to watch some more before I said anything confidently, but. I like Purdue to win still. They already played – I mean, they played Purdue. That was the one game that I watched, right? So they already lost to them. So.
My dream scenario is for Purdue to go on after the Gonzaga game and play Tennessee, who they already beat this season. Yeah. And then for Marquette to make it to the Final Four, who they already beat this season.
That'd be hilarious.
Then for Alabama to make it to the national championship, who they already beat this season.
That would be fantastic. They just do it all. Wild. They start and end the season the exact same way. It would be just a chef's kiss.
If only Samford made it past Kansas.
Hey, a kid I used to coach. A kid I used to coach is on staff. I don't know if I should say this out loud, but anyways, he won't care. He's on staff at Samford though, and he was texting me that night. He was upset about that game. Obviously.
Yeah.
I won't say what he said.
That's okay. We don't need to air out all of his private business.
That's right.
All right, let's talk about, no offense, Purdue fans. Purdue, I really do like you, but let's talk about my favorite team to watch right now. Purdue, close second, but Illinois, not saying I want them to win more than I want anybody else to win, but my favorite team to watch right now is Illinois. And Terrence Shannon Jr., Coleman Hawkins, Marcus Damask, 10th ever triple-double in NCAA tournament history. 10th ever. I mean, it's not like, 10th this season or, 10th in the past 20 years. 10th ever in NCAA tournament history. Like, crazy. Marcus Damask, crazy good player. Terrence Shannon Jr. is, like, he's out of control, but at the same time, he's in control. Like, he is the most out of control player running at the basket who still has control over himself that I've ever seen. And of course, Coleman Hawkins, like, the dude right now on the defensive end is just guarding anybody and everybody. It does help that neither Morehead State or the Duquesne, whatever
Duquesne.
you call them, I don't know, Duquesne.
Yeah.
It does help that neither of them had like a real bruiser down low presence or anything like that, because I think that's who Coleman Hawkins struggles with a little bit more. But still, like, Illinois is rolling right now. What are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I'll talk about the first game first because I think that these games were a lot like they weren't the same game, obviously, but there were some big differences. But I was worried right off the rip against Morehead State because they were down 9-0, maybe even 11-0. I can't remember, but they were. I was getting a little concerned. I was like, all right, where's Illinois? But Illinois can score with anyone, and they did score with anyone. All they need is that first shot to go in, and once TSJ knocked down that first shot, I feel like they did this kind of like the same thing I was saying with Purdue. Like, once they saw that first one go through, they started playing really loose. And, like Terrence Shannon, like you said, showed why he was the Big Ten tournament MVP. He is an MVP player. He's an All-American. He's just great to watch. Like you said, he's under control. If you really want to see out of control, go back and watch the Grand Canyon game last night. Those guys are all out of control. That was insane. But if I was going to be nitpicky about this game in the first game, I would say when I watched it back, I didn't notice this as much the first time I watched it, but when I watched it back, a lot of loose balls, a lot of not grabbing rebounds, and that's what allowed Morehead State to actually kind of stay in the game at the beginning. And really, when they play a better team, it might bite them if they're not securing rebounds and they're not getting all the loose balls that they should be getting. That would be my one nitpick thing. Now, like you said with Purdue, it's hard to find anything that Illinois is doing wrong right now. It's really fun to watch them play. And, worried at the beginning of this game, but I was glad to see Purdue go on a streak here at the second half and kind of take over the first game. What did you think about the first game?
Yeah, I thought there at the beginning I was a little concerned. Morehead State was kind of able to slow the pace down, kind of like Purdue had done to them. I thought that Illinois was doing a good job of still getting buckets, but their defense obviously wasn't there. Honestly, it kind of reminded me of the Ohio State Illinois game, where I'm not going to say that they didn't want it, and I do think that they wanted it in the Big Ten tournament. Part of me just thinks maybe people weren't giving Ohio State enough credit, but that's fine, whatever. I get it. They were bad this season. But anyway, I think there was a part of them that, like, they just weren't giving their full effort on defense. And Brad Underwood said so before halftime. He's like, I don't know what to do with these guys to get them to play defense in the first half. And he said something along the lines of, like, when we come out in the second half, they're going to play defense and we're going to play really well. It's like,
well, it's interesting because I think in the Duquesne game, they actually did play defense really well. Now, again,
yes,
this comes with a lot of, like, you got to look at the competition they were playing. Like, Duquesne was playing with house money. Like, they probably didn't think they were going to win their first game even. So when they face somebody like Illinois, it's probably not going to look great. But defensively, I thought they looked a lot better in the second game against Duquesne. And then what I noticed in this game, too, you know what you're going to get out of Terrence. You pretty much at this point in the season, what we've seen so far, you know what you're going to get out of Marcus. What you're always looking for from Illinois is who's going to be the third guy that, like, when you really need a bucket or when you're going on an 11-0 streak, like, who else is going to be able to score? And in this game, it was Danger and it was Coleman Hawkins. They got 11 and 8, so you combine their points, almost 20 from those guys. You're not going to lose very many games when Coleman Hawkins and Danger – is it Dane Danger? I don't know how to say his first name.
Yeah, Dane Danger.
Dane Danger. When those two guys are combining for 20 points and then you get what you get from TSJ and Damask, you're just not going to lose very many games. But Danger looks really good lately. Like, he's playing with, like, a lot of confidence. There was a highlight that went viral where he, like, went down the lane, crossed somebody over, and then finished on the reverse side with his right hand. Looked really good. But he's just playing with a lot of confidence right now, and they're going to need him if they're going to win either of these next two games. But especially this next one, it's going to be a tough matchup for them.
So I was going to ask you, I think you'll probably know the answer now that I'm asking you this, but there are two players for Illinois that are on Ken Palm's major contributors list for Illinois. That means that they are utilized in 24 to 28% of possessions used. One of them, obviously, is Terrence Shannon Jr. He might be over 28% at this point. I don't know. They might have to make a new category for him. Who is the other one?
I mean, I would guess it would be Damask, right? It has to be.
No. Damascus 20 to 24%.
Oh, okay. So it's Danger? Yeah. Okay.
The danger zone. You got to watch
Wow.
out for Danger.
Wow.
Dude,
You'd love to see it.
I don't know if there is a single player that I smile more when watching him play. Like, Kasai Tamanaga obviously was one of those guys for Nebraska. But, like, left in the tournament, on any team, not just Big Ten teams, like, there is not a single player that I don't, like, smile more while watching him play and just, like, enjoy seeing him get rowdy and get crazy and seeing, like, his teammates embrace him. There is no player I smile more watching than Dane Danger.
Yeah.
Just,
he's
like,
a
the
blast.
passion that he's playing with and, like, the energy he has, and like the rest of the team feeds off it too. I get why Brad Underwood didn't play him early on in the year. His defense was non-existent, and they needed some help on the defensive end. But at the end of the day, like, I think Brad just was like, screw it, throw Dane Danger in. Our defense is not all that much worse without him, or with him. So let's just throw him in there and have it work. And, like, he's improving on defense now, too. Like, the more he plays, I think he recognizes that he needs to be a better defender, and he's improving. He's getting better, which is really helping this team a lot. So, I mean, everybody's going to talk about Terrence Shannon Jr. and Marcus Domask. I mean, those were the two names I mentioned at the beginning, and they deserve to be talked about. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But Dane Danger is, like, if they go on a run and they make the Final Four, or dare I say the National Championship, Dane Danger is going to be one of the untold stories of why that happened this year.
Yeah, to me, he's like such an X factor, and there's another guy I'm about to talk about when we talk about Michigan State is Jaden Akins. He's very similar to him to me. Like, if he has a good game, they're usually going to win. But the problem is there's a chance he could put up a stinker, and they're relying a little bit too much on him maybe, and that's when they could slip up and lose to a really good team like Iowa State. So he is a very important player. Like, it gets to this point in the season, very much like I talked about with Purdue, you know what you're going to get out of certain guys. It's the other guys that are extremely important in these next coming games to continue to play well, not just against lesser competition, because it's not going to be like that anymore. The Sweet 16, all these games are going to be tight. They're going to be tighter, at least. So he's got to play well. He is a very important player for them coming down the stretch.
100%. 100%. Let's see. Do we need to cut? I mean, Ty Rogers. Like, I don't even know who else to comment on here, because at the end of the day, like, everybody, I just feel like is doing well. Like, there's nobody I can point out and be like, oh, this guy has to be better if they want to play better. I mean, Luke Goody maybe, but I think he did okay. I'm trying to like remember really fast, but he was fine.
I can't remember.
1 for 4 from 3 in the second game, but like, did you really need him in the Morehead State game? I think that. Let me check the Morehead State game really fast. I'm trying to recall my memory. All these games happened so long ago. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Oh, that's right. Luke Goody was 3 for 4. Had 9 points in the Morehead State game. Like, I mean, when you have Dane Danger playing the way he is, and then you have Luke Goody spreading the floor and hitting threes the way he does, like, it's you have to have Zach Edey to stop them.
Yeah.
It's the only way to put
100%.
it. So.
100%. I'm really sad we didn't get that matchup in the Big Ten tournament, by the way. I was looking forward to seeing that. But it is what it is, though. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not that mad about it. Let's get
the national championship instead.
Yeah, national championship. We'll see it again. That'll be great.
Yeah.
That will be fantastic. Yes.
And I'm sure both fan bases will be very tamed. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like a season where like they'll be super under control. They'll be very cordial to each other.
Yeah.
I could see that happening. I could definitely see that happening.
All right, let's go on to the next team. Michigan State surprised everybody by blowing out Mississippi State. I know I chose them to win that game, but I obviously was not too ecstatic about them getting the seed that they did, making it in the tournament. I know that I was kind of down on them, but I was also kind of down on Mississippi State because I thought they were frauds as well. So, but give credit to Michigan State. They won that first game, blew them out. Then UNC happened. They started the game really well. Kind of took a lead there on North Carolina, and I think North Carolina fans maybe took a gasp for a second, like, oh my gosh, are we really gonna struggle here against Tom Izzo and his terrible front court and what's going on here? But at the end of the day, they were obviously able to correct it. Armando Bacot had his game, and there wasn't much the Spartans could do in this situation. So, Kent, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, tough for them to draw North Carolina in the second game, but you have the season that you did, you're not going to get a higher seed. But I will say this. I know this is a big if because it didn't happen. The last 4 games that Michigan State played, I have been really impressed with them. 2 of them were losses. The one was obviously they beat Minnesota, but then they lost to Purdue in the Big Ten tournament. But I still think that even in that game, they played really well. I thought they played good, and it was just they were playing Purdue. They're not going to beat them this year. And then obviously this Mississippi State game and the North Carolina game, once again, they're within 5 points of a number 1 seed with 8 minutes to go. And with 10 minutes to go or 12 minutes to go, I think they were within a bucket. So they were right in this game all the way till the end. But going back to the Mississippi State game, I really liked what they did defensively. I think that they were trying to cut off anything that was going to be at the basket. I felt like they were sagging in on the lane a lot. They were trying to close off the lane and not letting them shoot, but the way that Mississippi State was shooting, they were terrible from 3. They missed 21 threes, and it was really attributed to Michigan State's defense. The 6 threes that they hit, most of them were on fast break opportunities. They were coming down the court really quickly, and Michigan State just had trouble getting back on defense. Every 3 that they shot out of a half-court set was highly contested from Michigan State. So I thought it was like an old-school win for Michigan State. They were playing really good defensively. They were packing the lane. They were not letting them get anything at the glass. And then classic, Tyson Walker, 19 points. And then the guy I was just talking about, Jaden Akins, when he gets going just like a little bit, they'll be fine. He's such an X factor for them, and he had 15 in this game. And I really feel like that's why they won, because he was playing so well. The UNC game, just false hope. Like I said, I was really excited. They were up in the first half, and then it felt like towards halftime, like, oh, man, UNC really has the momentum here. But then Michigan State comes crawling back, and they get within 2, and I'm like, all right, they might actually win this game. They have a chance here. And like I said, false hope. Just couldn't get the lead ever. And with a team like UNC, if you can't gain the lead on them and take away their confidence, you're not going to win the game. They have too many good players. They had Bacot. They had Davis, obviously. There was a guy named Jalen Withers that I didn't even know about who was, like, going off in the second half with the last 10 minutes of the game. Never even heard of him before. So they just got too many good guys. And, when you're trying to make a comeback against a team like that, it's just really tough. Really, really tough to make a comeback on a 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan State lost this game in the, second 10 minutes, right? In, the second quarter of the game and the final 10 minutes of the first half there. They played really, really well. I mean, they were up, 10 points on North Carolina at one point, and it looked like, oh, wow, we really got a game here. But obviously, North Carolina went on that run. Ken Palm says that they went on a 26-8 run in the second 10 minutes there. So, that obviously kills you. When you get down that much, what is that, 40-31. Once you start getting down by 10 to a 1 seed like that, if you're Michigan State and you have the offense to do it, you might be able to get back into it if UNC just starts missing shots. But at the end of the day, UNC is just too disciplined of a team. It's rare for them to go on a streak like that where they're missing shots and going cold. But Frank Matthews here has a question. JR, did MSU redeem themselves in your eyes? I don't know how to answer this. I was lower than MSU this season than they should have been. Than I thought they were. But also Michigan State was kind of a bit this season, a little bit. I think anybody who knows, I started off the season saying this isn't a tournament team, and then I just kind of rode with it throughout the whole year. And,
you were almost right, dude.
I was almost right, and I really wanted to be right, but it's all good. I have been, people have said that I hate Michigan State. I don't hate Michigan State. They were just my bet I made at the beginning of the year. And if I'm being honest, Michigan State has one of the best backcourts in the Big Ten. And I still do dislike that Tom Izzo did not play Xavier Booker enough this season. I really felt like they could have corrected some of those front court issues if they would have just played Xavier Booker a little bit more. And, obviously Tom Izzo has forgotten more basketball than I will ever know, so who am I to question Tom Izzo? I get that. But at the end of the day, looking back on Michigan State's season, there were just times where, because of who Michigan State is and because of Tom Izzo is, you expected more. And part of me wanted to see more. So, Frank, I don't know if that answers your question. Yes, I was glad to see them move on to the round of 2 and not just lose in the first game of the NCAA tournament. But at the end of the day,
that's not true. You definitely wanted them to lose. You wanted to be
in the first round? No, not in the first round.
Yeah, you wanted to be justified with that take. Look, they shouldn't even have been here.
Kinda, but no, I don't know. I struggle with Michigan State all year long because I said that thing at the beginning of it, and I don't like going back on what I say. But yes, at the end of the day, we'll say this: yes, Michigan State did redeem themselves in my eyes, Frank. So we'll say.
I wanted to go back to one more basketball thing real quick, JR, before we move on from them. I just thought it was really interesting in the UNC game how much success they had early on doing the thing that the fans were getting the most upset about all year, which was basically dumping it in the post and just having those guys figure it out. It was working. The first 10 minutes, it was working. Sissoko had, I don't know how to say his name ever, Matty. He got a few buckets. Kohler even got a bucket. I forget. I wrote the other one down. Obviously, Malik Hall was getting his. Everything was coming off the block right there at the beginning. It was like, man, this might actually work. The thing that Tom Izzo's been getting criticized for all year, and then they were mixing up just a few 3-point shots here and there, and those were dropping too. Like Hogarth hit one early, which was shocking that he made a 3-point shot. And then Tyson Walker made I think 3 in the first half. He was on fire. So I thought everything was clicking for them that first half, and it was interesting because of how many tweets and how much disdain the fans have had for that style of offense, and it was actually working the first half. But obviously, like you said, UNC too disciplined. They never got too nervous or scared that they didn't have the lead, and they were able to, come back and win this game pretty handily at the end.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, in Michigan State, they did not have the front court to be able to battle with Armando Bacot. And once Bacot got going, it was just his game. I think he was a Ken Palm MVP in this one. So, there's no stopping it. Before we move on, let me ask you this about Michigan State. So, obviously, Matty Sissoko and A.J. Hogarth, they still have options to come back next year. Michigan State fans are kind of up and done with A.J. Hogarth, and I know that
what really
some of them are kind of frustrated with Matty Sissoko. Yeah, right. But I mean, in your mind, looking at it for Michigan State fans, should they want A.J. Hogarth and Matty Sissoko back, or are you kind of like them where it's guys, just move on?
Definitely not A.J. I've never been a big fan of his game at all. And I'm assuming that, is it Jeremy Fears? I'm forgetting his first name. I'm getting him mixed up.
Jeremy Fears.
I'm assuming that he's going to be ready to play by next year. It has to be just all his team next year. And it can't be this he's going to get a few minutes like they did with Xavier Booker this year. It's got to be throw him into the fire and let him take over this team. And if AJ is not going to be a part, AJ can't be on the team if that's going to happen because he's got too much experience. He's gotten too much playing time. And I think it'll be a toxic locker room between those two guys. If he's still on the team and you're giving Jeremy Fears all the minutes, I think that would be bad. And I also think that Tom Izzo wouldn't do that. I think he would let Hogarth still play point guard way too much. So he's definitely got to go. Who was the other guy that you mentioned?
Matty Sissoko.
Yeah, I don't know about him. I don't know. I feel like
right now. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I feel like he's a guy you could give or take. He's gonna give you some good minutes, but he's not gonna be the guy for them down there at the 5 position to be like you said. It's got to be Booker next year. They really need to give these young guys they need to give them the team next year. That's what needs to happen. Like, Michigan State's never in a position where they think that they can, like, they have to rebuild or anything, but those guys are never going to get better if they don't start getting more minutes, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Obviously,
you have to
Fears,
give
like,
time.
he had a different issue going on this year, so, like,
Right.
that's why he didn't play. But I feel like even if he was healthy, I don't think he would have got the minutes that he deserved either.
I mean, maybe you take out Jaden Akins, but again, would Tom Izzo do that? I mean, like Tom Izzo was the one saying that like all of our guards were on magazine covers at some point. So like apparently that's a big deal to him, and yeah, I get it. Like that's cool, but at the end of the day, like I don't know. It's so hard to comment on the Jimmy Fear stuff. I'm just glad the dude's alive.
Yeah,
so,
seriously. Yeah.
mean, who knows what?
I think he's gonna be good next year, though. Like once he's
will
ready
too.
to go, he's gonna be a good player for them.
Yeah. Steven Izzo got a minute in for the UNC game, and then I think he played a minute or two for the Mississippi State game, didn't he?
I gotta admit, I missed that. I was off the game by that point. I totally missed it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that for sure.
Yeah, watch the last minute. He had 1 minute and 1 assist in the Mississippi State game. So yeah,
nice.
Steven Izzo, killing it. So.
Love Steven Izzo. They wrote a really good story about him in The Athletic, and I don't read a ton. Obviously, you could probably tell by the way that I talk, but like, it was a great article though, and it kind of shed a lot of light on like why he is the way that he is, and made me like him a lot more for real this time. Like, that was kind of my bit this year on the show, is like that I actually liked him, but now I really do after reading that.
Yeah. That's the other one we're thinking about. Younger Brothers Fears is going to play in Champaign. I knew there was another Fears, but I think it's another J name, but I can't remember what his first name is. Sonny, put his first name in the chat if you can do that. All right, we're going to watch a commercial really fast, and then we'll come back and talk Northwestern.
Looking to rep your alma mater or your favorite team in style? Look no further than Home Field. Home Field, based in Indianapolis, is your go-to destination for premium collegiate apparel. With a passion for comfort and a flair for vintage design, Home Field brings you officially licensed gear that is cozy as it is stylish. With over 150 colleges to choose from, Home Field digs deep into the archives, uncovering forgotten logos, iconic mascots, and legendary moments to create apparel that is truly one of a kind. Head on over to homefieldapparel.com. Use my code TBTH for 15% off for new customers, or use my link in the description. If you're a serious college basketball fan, you need CBB Analytics. CBB Analytics isn't just another stats site. It's the ultimate destination for in-depth basketball analysis. Used by fans and coaches alike, CBB Analytics delivers stats that you won't find anywhere else. It has comprehensive stats for men's and women's basketball across Division 1 through 3, dating all the way back to 2018. From shooting percentages to game recaps, CBB Analytics has it all. Head on over to cbbanalytics.com. With their user-friendly interface and extensive selection, you'll have all the stats you need right at your fingertips. Don't miss out. Try CBB Analytics for free, or pay for a pro tier for your basketball knowledge to grow to the next level. CBB Analytics, where every stat tells a story and every game is a masterpiece.
Jeremiah, that's the name. Thank you, Sonny. Jeremiah Fears. That's not going to be confusing at all next year.
No, definitely not.
Thanks, Fears family. All right. Northwestern. So I feel like this is the toughest team to talk about, because you had Beauty in the overtime game, and Ryan Legborg is awesome, and I dare to have ever questioned him, and Boo Booey. And then I watched the UConn game, and I was like, well, I guess it was good that I questioned him a little bit, because it was not pretty, but at the same time, I hated seeing Boo and Ryan and the rest of the crew go down like that. Kent, your thoughts on our beloved Northwestern Wildcats?
I'm just sad. I'm just really sad. Like, I love Northwestern so much. This is not a bit, by the way. I actually fell in love with Northwestern last year. And the last 2 years watching them, with Chase Audige, obviously, and then Boo Booey this year, and just getting to – I felt like I was on the team. I was feeling this loss a lot. when this took place yesterday or the day before, whenever it happened. All my days are blurring together right now. But let's talk about the positive, though. They beat FAU. Langborg was unreal. I think it might have been his best game of the year. I was at Buffalo Wild Wings, so you guys can all thank me for overtime. I hit the overtime button right there at the end of regulation. I wanted to see a little bit more of Northwestern. And then it was all North. Like, that overtime was awesome, by the way, because it was just all Northwestern. Like, FAU had no answers for them in that last 5 minutes. So that was my favorite part of the tournament so far, is watching Northwestern get that win, because that doesn't happen very often. By the way, let's not forget, this is their third NCAA tournament appearance. All three of them have come under my beloved Chris Collins at the helm, and they have won a game in every single tournament that they've been in. No one else can say that. They have won a game in every tournament. Now, the problem is they've always been a kind of lower seed, so they run into a team like UConn in the second round, which is a team that even Collins will admit was better than them at every position. They were pretty much outmatched. Watching that game was really tough because Northwestern just couldn't really get into their stuff, because UConn is long at every position and they're so athletic. So they couldn't get into any of their offense, and all their shots were contested. And really tough game to watch, and I'm sad to see them lose. But once again, just because it's happened 3 times now under Chris Collins, I feel like it should still be celebrated, because it's hard to win at Northwestern. And they've been able to do it, and they've been able to make 3 tournaments, and they've been able to win a game in all 3 of them. And that's commendable. And I'm proud of Northwestern, and they have nothing to be ashamed of to lose to a team like UConn, no doubt. Oh, we lost. You're on mute, dude. Sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you. I think Dave said it best here. Like, anybody but UConn, Northwestern, like, they probably would have won that game. UConn is just a juggernaut, a giant, it really difficult to see them play them. Before we move on, Bootzilla did say, "Did you box out at Buffalo Wild Wings?"
When you first popped that up, I didn't know what he was trying to say, but then I remembered the commercial, and
the Buffalo.
I definitely did. Like, when I was going to the bathroom, no one was like, I was definitely boxing out, because there were a few beverages taking place that day for sure.
Oh, sure.
I was boxing out at the urinal.
But this is the Northwestern Florida Atlantic graph or whatever that shows the win. Like, look at this. Like, 5 minutes left. Northwestern had a 89% chance to win. It plummets with less than a minute left to a 14.8% chance
That's
for
insane.
Northwestern to win. And then they make it to overtime, and then they go on an 18-3 run. I mean,
Incredible.
It's just crazy. And that there at the end, 13-2 run by
FAU.
FAU. So just a wild. I don't know. We didn't need to bring that up for too long, but still, like, I saw that and I was like, I have to share that. But
yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it was definitely one of those, like, that was a classic, like, early round, because let's be honest, this tournament has not had a lot of close games, and it's been pretty much chalk throughout. Pretty much, it's not been all chalk.
Right.
So it hasn't been, like, if you're a casual fan, like everyone knows that I am, I cheer for a lot of upsets. I cheer for close games because I want to see a buzzer beater, or I want to see overtime. I want to see things like that. Hasn't been a lot of that. So this was a great game to watch. Just from any fan could have enjoyed this game, at Buffalo Wild Wings. Not a sponsor, by the way. Having a few beers and just watching a good overtime game early on Friday. It was a great game to watch.
Do you think Buffalo Wild Wings would let, like, us podcast from different Buffalo Wild Wings?
I don't think they could stop us from doing that.
But, like, if we could, like, if they sponsored us, then we could do it, like, at the
You're
Buffalo
saying, like,
Wild
different
Wings.
ones, like I'm at one and you're at a different one? That would be hilarious.
Then we could have wings and beer and have a good time. So
Definitely. Let's put the call out, man. Buffalo Wild Wings.
We'll
Get
the
that
marketing
sponsorship
team on
rolling. I would do it just for like 6 free wings. I would go to Buffalo Wild Wings to do this show.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day here, like, I don't have much else to say other than, like, Boo Booey, like, made a case for possibly the best point guard in the tournament if he kept playing at the pace he was playing. Like, give me another point guard who would be able to beat Florida Atlantic with Ryan Langborg, Brooks Barnheiser, and Luke Hunger. And that's not me saying that those players are bad by any means, but, like, I mean, just think of those names. Like, Ryan Langborg, Brooks Barnheiser, Luke Hunger. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
not
Like,
names that incite like,
yeah.
fear.
They're not bad players like you said. It's just like that. It's tough to go on a tournament run with guys like that. I said the same thing about Michigan State that I'll say right now about Northwestern. I feel like either of those teams, if they get a slightly higher seed, we might be talking about them playing next week still. But the problem was that Northwestern's injuries, like, they just could not possibly get a higher seed than what they were because Matthew was out and Ty was out.
Yeah.
First name basis with all these guys. Once again, I feel like I was on the team this year. With those two guys out, man, they needed someone like, I don't know. If those two guys were in, I feel like they could have got up to like a maybe 6 seed and they could have won 2 games. I don't know, man. It's just really sad the way that the season shook out. But like I said, they still have a lot to be proud of because of what they were still able to accomplish with the amount of, efficiency or the amount of output that they were missing from their team.
Yeah, it's true. And a lot of the credit goes to Boo Booey for being
Mm-hmm.
able to do that, and his teammates for taking the ball when the other team focused in on him. So at the end of the day, saying goodbye to Boo. I'm not sad that I'll never have to play against him again, but I am sad that I will not be watching Boo Booey again against other teams.
Yeah, it's sad.
So Chris Collins, really fast before we move on from here. Chris Collins, you say that you believe he is the best coach. Like, when you consider everything, not just wins, but where he's at, the players he has, stuff like that, you say that he is the best coach in the Big Ten. I don't fully disagree, but I do want to see him win without Boo Booey.
I hear you. I think he will. And when I say he's the best coach, by the way,
I think he will too. I just want to
Yeah.
see it.
yeah, I'm talking about just strictly like you give this guy 5 guys and he's going to go out and coach a basketball game. I'm not talking about anything else like recruiting, like transfer portal, anything else. I'm talking about like just he's going to get you, a couple of practices and get ready for a game. This guy will outcoach anybody, I think. And I'm not saying that as a slight at anybody else. I'm not saying that that means everyone else stinks. That's not what I'm trying to say. I just think that he is the best at drawing up out of bounds plays. He's the best in late game situations. He's the best at getting his guys to buy into a defensive philosophy. And I think that he's proven it because of what you just said. I mean, if we pulled all the stars for the recruits that he's gotten, Northwestern has to be the lowest, yet they're still performing higher than teams that get better recruits. So what does that mean? It means that the coach is doing more with less. It means he's a better coach in my mind.
I cannot disagree. I want to look up Boo Booey's star rating on 24/7 really fast now that you say that. 3-star, second player out of New York, number 47 point guard in the 2018 class. 2019. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of other people that could say their best player possibly ever was a 3-star recruit at their program.
Well, Purdue.
Becky
was a 3-star,
was he?
Wasn't he? I think so.
Was he? I don't know. I don't do a lot of high school
recruiting. At least
recruiting
one
stuff.
place. Yeah, he was a 3-star at least one place. But
Okay. What were they
that's
thinking?
the thing. Like, if you're ever bragging about how good a player is, you use the 5-star that they were at one place, and then if you ever want to brag about how good you are at developing,
Oh, you just pick a
3-star
different.
they were.
Yeah, you just pick a different site. Yeah.
Yeah. Class of 2022, Zach Edey, 3-star, number 33 player in Florida. That was a miss. Number 75 center in the nation. That
Wow.
was a miss. So
He must have stunk in high school then. Like, because how do you
Painter,
go from
dude.
that to, like, National Player of the Year? That's insane. I didn't
don't
know
There's
that.
probably more to that story that we could bring up Purdue. I'll have to ask Frank. I think Frank's coming on Wednesday. I'll have to ask him.
Okay,
more
yeah,
about
yeah.
That when
I
he
need
comes on.
answers.
Frank has a memory like no other. So
Let's
I'm sure
dive
he
deep
knows
into the
something.
recruiting of, like, former players, like what their stars were.
That'll do a great.
Instead of
numbers.
talking about the upcoming games in the tournament.
Hey, we've gained one person since we talked about that. So
Hey,
thank you to
people
my
love
one person.
that. People love talking stars.
All right, Dave has given us a segue here to the next discussion. You can segue into Wisconsin with this. What Wisconsin team would show up in the NCAA tournament, the one that did well in the Big Ten tournament, or February Wisconsin team. Oh, shoot. Gosh, I hit the wrong button. The February. What did I do? No, I got the graphic wrong.
Did you? It looks right.
No, Wisconsin JMU. It's not 77 to 65. Shoot. It
What was the score?
72 to 61. Sorry,
Oh.
everybody.
It's all good.
So I just combined these because they both went out game one, and I figured at this point we'd probably be at around an hour, which we are. So
Yeah.
we can just talk about each of them and then go from there. Wisconsin, obviously, that was a sad performance. I felt like the whistle was not in Wisconsin favor, and you know me, like I am not one to talk about stripes very often, but there was a level of physicality that James Madison was allowed to play with that has not normally been allowed in college basketball all season, and they were not allowed to play with against Duke. So tell me why they were allowed to play with that physicality against Wisconsin, but not Duke. Anyway, I don't want to make this all about refs. I digress. And then Nebraska, tough game for them. Texas A&M, they were able to hit shots in this one that they weren't able to hit most of the year. They were able to get offensive rebounds, and Nebraska really just wasn't able to stop them. Kent, your thoughts?
Yeah, the Wisconsin. I wrote down two things for Wisconsin. I said that you have two choices basically on how you want to talk about this game after it's over. You can, number one, either blame the refs for how JMU was playing, which is a fair thing to do because I do think that they were getting away with murder. I really do. But number two is the way that I chose to go to Twitter during the latter part of this game was blaming Wisconsin for not making adjustments that they needed to make because I don't know, from what I'm remembering from this game, the way that I saw it, and Wisconsin fans might see it differently, and that's fine because I was watching as a neutral party, but I didn't see Wisconsin step up defensively and do the things that James Madison was doing to them on the other end. They didn't try to be more aggressive. They didn't try to go for steals. They didn't try to push people around on the block like James Madison was doing to them. So when you continue to play a softer defense, I'm going to call it, and the other team's getting away with fouls and playing a more aggressive defense, you can complain about the refs all you want, or you can start playing more aggressively on your defensive end and see if it changes the way that the game is going. And I took a lot of flack for that on Twitter because people said that, you know, Wisconsin did make adjustments at halftime and they shot better. I didn't see anything defensively. I know that they shot the ball better. I don't think that they played or did anything better defensively or even offensively in the second half. I just think that they happened to make some more shots. And that's how I see the Wisconsin game going. I feel like they didn't adjust to what the game was being called like. And I think they only have themselves to blame for that loss. That's how I feel. For Nebraska, just feels like at this point they're never going to win in the tournament. They're 0-8 now. Really thought this was going to be the year that they'd actually pick up a win, and unfortunately it was not. But like you said, JR, Texas A&M dominated rebounding, 40-28. They got 13 offensive rebounds. That's way too many if you're trying to win a close 8-9 matchup. You just can't give up that many offensive rebounds. Excuse me, I'm running out of breath. But what else did I write down for this one? I think that they were well above their average on their three-point shooting, I think is what I wrote down. I can't remember anymore. But Nebraska just couldn't get stops. That's what it came down to. They could not slow down Texas A&M. And defensively, they were same thing as Wisconsin. They just didn't play well defensively in this game, and that's why they lost this game. And it's unfortunate because it was such a fun season, very much like Northwestern. I thought it was fun to kind of be a part of Nebraska's season and like follow them on this journey and follow Casey and like everything that, he's connected him to the university, and some guys that I didn't know going into the season start to play well. Really wanted them to win, was cheering for them a lot, but unfortunately, like I said, can't give up that many rebounds, can't play that bad defensively and expect to win a tournament game against a team that's pretty much matched equally to you. So that's how I saw those two games shaking out. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about the first one. We'll see, though. We'll see what people say in the comments. They'll probably hate me.
Well, the Texas A&M one is crazy because I corrected that score. Sorry, everybody. But Texas A&M scored 98 points. That was the most points that they have scored all season long. The other teams that they scored a lot against was Kentucky. Both games they scored 97, and those games were in overtime. One of them was in overtime, the other one wasn't. And then they scored 95 against Houston, and that game was in overtime. So, like, Nebraska, obviously, like, they didn't come with the defense that they needed to. I don't know, what they weren't practicing or whatever. I don't know. But, defense is what killed Nebraska in this one. Like, when I looked at the box score and I watched the game, like, I didn't think Nebraska was playing bad offense. It was just their offense was playing catch-up the entire time because, like you said, Nebraska just couldn't get a stop. They couldn't get any breathing room to do anything. And, credit Texas A&M because, like, that's what happens. When you give Nebraska breathing room, they're going to come back. They're going to get hot. They're going to get going. And they just never could because they couldn't put it together on both ends of the court. Wisconsin, I think it was a big problem that Chucky Hepburn got 4 fouls and only 8 points in this one. He just wasn't himself. And when we saw Wisconsin at their best this season, it was Max Klesmit, Chucky Hepburn, and A.J. Storr. Well, those 3 players and John Blackwell combined for 8 points at the end of the first half. And so, in my mind, like, you had Stephen Crowell out there putting on a better offensive performance than those 4 players combined. And like half
That's
of those
not
points
good.
were from free throws. Right, exactly. Like Stephen Crowell is not a bad player. I'm not dissing on Stephen Crowell here. He's a good role player for a team, but he cannot be your source of offense in an NCAA tournament game. I don't care if you're playing number 12 JMU. At the end of the day, like, Wisconsin Stars did not come out and play the way that Wisconsin Stars needed them to play in order to win this game. Fair or not fair, soft, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't good enough, and it's unfortunate because I really was rooting for this Wisconsin team. I wanted Wisconsin to prove the doubters wrong because on that selection show it did bother me that every single person just was like, "Oh, James Madison, pick James Madison right away," and they weren't able to stop it. So
Yeah, I think that's part of what I was trying to say. Like, both sides of the ball. Like, if a team is playing you so aggressively, I feel like they should have run a backdoor play, maybe run a play where you're going, like you're doing some misdirection or something. It felt like their offense was playing right into JMU's hands the whole game. That's kind of what I meant about like not making adjustments. Like, never called a timeout to try to like draw up something unique against a really aggressive defense. I felt like was just a misstep from the coaching staff. I did want to mention this too. This was the stat that I was misremembering. Texas A&M against Nebraska, 56% from 3. Their season average was 29. So that's tough. That's tough when they shoot like that. Not going to win that game. So
yeah. I mean, they had guys hitting shots that Wade Taylor obviously was fantastic, but not only him, you have Sullivan Washington and Radford, and I don't even know say the one guy's last name, Abasaki, whatever. Just like when they're all hitting shots the way they were, it was kind of over for Nebraska.
Yeah.
So I will contend that, and Wisconsin fans don't hate me for saying this because I think some of you actually agree with me. Some of you might not, and that's okay. I get it. I think the Wisconsin fans are in one of the worst spots you can actually be in college basketball, where your coach is good enough to keep his job and you can't justify firing him, but he doesn't perform to your standards. And I think it's crazy for Wisconsin fans to say their standards are Sweet 16 every single year. I think that's crazy. I heard somebody say, I'm not saying all Wisconsin fans say that, but I saw some say that their standards are Sweet 16 every single year. That's crazy. That's like Kansas, UConn. Like, those are blue bloods that expect that. And Wisconsin's a very good basketball program, but they're not a blue blood. But Greg Gard is not going to be the coach that takes Wisconsin where the fans want him to take them. And I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm just saying that, like, he is never going to do bad enough where you can justify firing him like Chris Holtmann was, but he's never going to do good enough where you end the season and you're like, I really believe in our coach, and I think that he's going to take us to good places. Am I wrong on that, Kent?
No. I mean, I said almost a very similar thing a few weeks ago when we were talking about some of the coaches, and at the end of the season, I said almost the exact same thing. Like, he's just – because he's going to win you 20 games. He's going to win you 15 to 20 games, so you're never going to be mad at him because he's going to get a lot of wins. And then, he's just not going to have the postseason success that I feel like fans want. But, I mean, it's interesting because you can, with postseason stuff, only one team wins, right? So, like, only one fan base is truly happy at the end of the season. So it makes it really hard because then there's, 300 other schools that are upset that they didn't win, right? But I think the expectations maybe need to be lowered if you're Wisconsin. Either that or you have to advocate for firing him quicker, I guess. If you're a fan, like, you either have to be like, all right, we're okay with, like, just making it past the first round or just making a Sweet 16. We have to say that's a successful season, or being in contention for the Big Ten championship at the end of the season or whatever. You either have to be okay with that or you have to just, like, fully be like, I want somebody new here to change the culture, because the culture's been the same since he's been there. It's been a lot of wins. It's been a few runs in the tournament. It's been some championships here and there.
With Bo Ryan's guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're talking about the national championship run?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's fair.
Greg Gard is, kind of what everybody makes fun of Ryan Day for in Ohio in football. And I'm not saying they're wrong, but, like, he only ever did it in 2019 and 2020 when he had Urban Meyer's guys. And, Greg Gard, like, he's done his best when he had Bo Ryan's guys. So, I mean,
He still won a lot of games since then, though, as far as the wins go.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm just saying, like, he's, like, I don't have confidence that Greg Gard is going to take Wisconsin to a national championship in the next, like, sometime in his tenure. I don't think he's going to do that with his guys. And I think that's what Wisconsin fans want, is they want to get back to a national championship, or at least, at the very least, a Final Four. But it's hard to do that when you don't believe in your coach to be able to do that.
Yeah. I just think, obviously, this is just such a general sweeping statement. I don't have a lot of confidence in any coach, really, to do that, because I think the NCAA tournament is so hard to get to a national championship. It's really tough to be like, I'm for sure positive this guy's going to make it to a national championship. What, like
That's
Bill Self, maybe? That's it?
Well, I was thinking only Big Ten. So I guess let me go through it really fast. We're going over right here.
Yeah, is there like any guy in this conference that you're like, this guy's for sure, maybe Painter this year, but like.
Painter will at some point. Painter will either win a national championship or get to a national championship at some point in his career.
I think he'll get to one this year, so that's fair.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Is like it could happen this year.
Yeah.
I'm convinced Brad Underwood will at least make a Final Four.
Yeah.
At least. I mean, he's been too close to not. I mean, and eventually you just get the lucky draw. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Eventually you get there. Fred Hoiberg.
They did not get the lucky draw this year, by the way.
Yeah, they did not. I don't think Fred Hoiberg will. I don't think Chris Collins will at Northwestern. And I don't think Fred Hoiberg will at Nebraska. I mean, am I wrong to say that?
No.
Greg Gard.
They got to win a game first for me to have any confidence.
I know. Greg Gard, we've talked about him. Mike Woodson, Indiana. No, I don't have confidence in that. Tom Izzo, Michigan State. I mean, if he starts using the portal, maybe, but I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Tom Izzo.
He said he's going to make another deep run or he's going to die trying. Did you see that?
No? Yeah, and Jim Harbaugh said he was going to beat Ohio State or die trying. So,
hey, so I do believe in Tom Izzo then.
Yeah.
At least he's done it before. Like I mean,
right,
he's
I'm saying
done it,
like anymore. Yeah, like
right, but he's done it like relatively recently though. Like he was in a Final Four in 2019, wasn't he? I mean, didn't they go to the national championship game that year?
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, I don't know if it was national championship game. I can't remember.
They definitely made
but
the Final Four. I think they lost to Texas Tech that year or something.
Everything before COVID is a blur.
That's
I only
true.
know COVID and beyond.
True.
I'm like a Michigan football fan. I only know COVID and beyond. So. Sorry, Michigan fans. I had to take a shot, okay? I mean, down the list from there, like Kevin Willard, no. Jake Diebler, we'll see, but I don't think so. What's his name? Ben Johnson. I almost said Greg Johnson.
Ben Johnson, national champion. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. Steve Peichel. At one point I did believe in Steve Peichel, but he just keeps losing all of his players.
Yeah.
They have like 6 guys in the transfer.
Why is
portal.
Cliff transferring? I don't get that.
I don't know. He was supposed to be going to. Somebody said he was going to St. John's, but now I don't think that's happening because he hasn't gone there as quick. So.
Does he get a portal back to New Jersey? That'd be awesome.
I don't know.
Can you portal back? Can you transfer
Yeah, of
to your
course.
own school?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Caden Proctor did that, right?
He did. Dave said, so are you upset that Jim didn't die? No, Dave, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a great comment.
That was great. All right. Well, we've made it over an hour and 15 minutes, so that was a good time.
That's a
Thanks,
show right
everybody, for
there.
coming.
Over an hour and 15 minutes. That's a
Yeah.
show.
I don't know what we'll talk about next Monday. By the way, everybody, we're going to do this next Monday too because there will be games next Sunday night, and I don't want to try to compete for your time with with Sunday night March Madness. But I don't know.
We'll be
what
able
we'll
to talk about
if,
Purdue and Illinois, their games.
Well, if they lose though, like I don't know what to talk about.
We'll just sit here
I'll
and
just be
cry
sad.
the whole time.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
be like, oh no, the Big Ten's gone.
They're not
It was
losing.
actually
Neither
kind
one
of
of
a
them are
gamble.
losing.
Neither one.
I'm worried
All
about Illinois against UConn. Aren't they? Isn't that the region they're in? I think that
Yeah.
Illinois is for sure winning this next game, though.
I think
That's
Illinois
what
has a
I'll do
really
real
good
quick. I'll do
chance.
my predictions real quick. I think Purdue's
Okay.
going to cruise to the Final Four, but I do think that Illinois is going to beat Iowa State, and then UConn is just a really tough matchup for them. Really tough. I think that might be the one that they drop, unfortunately. I picked them to go to the Final Four, though, so I hope that they win it.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know. I don't want to say it because I don't want to jinx them, but like there is a team, Big Ten team in the NCAA tournament right now that everybody was counting out because they lost to a 16 seed last year that I think is going to make the national championship because I think their road there is just too beautiful.
Yeah,
Like, I really do believe in the black and gold.
I do too.
I do too.
I do too. Now I will say though that if I had a dream, if I had to get one of them out, a dream matchup would be Houston versus Illinois. That would be one of the most athletic games ever. That would be fantastic to watch.
That would
Now
be really
obviously
fun
I'd
to
rather
watch.
see Purdue and Illinois, but like
Right.
as from a basketball fan standpoint, like I would love to see Houston versus Illinois. Even an exhibition game after the tournament's over, like just put them on. Be a great game to watch.
I'm trying to decide who on the other side I would want to see Purdue face. I mean, obviously there's like UConn because they're so good, and I think that would be a good down low battle between what's his name, Klingon? Is that the
Oh, yeah,
UConn
yeah.
big guy? So I
That'd
think
be
that would be
good.
a really good battle.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind seeing an Arizona rematch.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, 'cause
Fans?
I
What do you
had
think?
Arizona fans in the comments when we previewed that game telling me that they were going to come back to that preview after I was talking smack after Purdue won if Arizona beats them in the national championship. So
I
that'd be
mean,
beautiful.
that could be the national championship still. It's still lined up.
It could. So, all right. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, Kent, for coming on. We'll see you next Monday. Everybody, we will have a show for you tomorrow night. Football, Tuesday night with Zach. Zach will be here again. I don't know if I have any. I think I have Mike from Buckeye Bar Talk on that night. I can't remember. And then we should have Sonny back on Thursday night. And I believe Frank. I need to double check that, but I think Frank from Boiler Express is going to be on Wednesday night to preview the Illinois and Purdue games. So thanks everybody for being here. Thank you so much, Kent, for joining me. Have a good one, everybody.